Melody's wardens had an uncanny propensity for auguring inclement weather from the most innocuous-looking cloud formations. They could foresee threats of the utmost danger to an artless ingenue's high hopes for a sweet by and by. Threats that lurked in the woodwork, crept on all fives through the shadows, or tiptoed across the desert from one town to the next. Such a mise-en-scène was far from what one could fitly call safe or think of with any degree of clarity as going strong, much less sitting pretty. For whensoever disarmingly naive young titties like Melody took it upon themselves, at any time they happened to feel the itch to show their fangs, as it were, over hastily, that is to say, well in advance of inveigling their victims into the throes of encompassment, to wit, the knots that bind. They'd invariably dig their own graves, and even toss their bloats thereinto for good measure. For the problem of revealing too much of themselves, i.e., who they were, whence they came, and what they stood for, under such precariously dicey circumstances, would do nothing whatso to augment their prospects, inasmuch as empowering them to bait, much less ensnare, the amorous affections of eligible suitors on the wrong side of 40, yet on the right side of the tracks, that is to say, polished men of Garrett's standing, or better, that gold miners like Melody were predisposed to gun for. Neither would the implementation of such cloyful maneuvers embolden the aforesaid swains to feel so much as a whit of remorse were they to become sensible of the slightest soupçon of a suspicion, as per regarding the integrity of their mistress's motives, that would foment in their heartstrings the faintest intimation of concern, read unholy dread, as to what the tangible nature of such a future was bound to encumber, i.e., an offing presumably spent in the company of a carping old trout during the final act of one's second childhood. Let alone what unspeakable antipathies, banes, bugbears, and other abominations such a future would promise, the goading apprehension of which, in turn, would kindle an overpowering compulsion precipitated by feelings of shuddering revulsion to mislay or outrun those affiliates of the feminoid persuasion, dysphemistically referred to as the unfair sex, that the savvier and more on-the-ball swains thereamong would intuitively recognize, by no means unsoundly, as belonging to the up-and-coming crop of scolds, hellcats, spitfires, harridans, she-devils, and what have you. Nay, 'twas forsooth those long-suffering, soft-spoken, reluctant-eyed, unsuspecting, unassuming young sylphs, blushets, and nymphets, with full receptive lips, supple physiques, and pretty little moos on their mugs, that such rakes were wont to fall head over heels for. Call it love, if you elect to. For what else is there that tames the savageness of man, as is said, and makes gentle the life of this world?